Welcome to a new video. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. The first story is called A Write-Up for Following a Write-Up. I was previously employed in a small retail store working 6 days a week. The worst day to work was Saturday. There was minimum staff rostered on Saturday and I would be running around to make sure things got done. So it was no surprise that this happened on a Saturday. I was helping out a customer when the store phone began to ring. Since I was through the customer, I could not leave them due to company policy. As I went out to the back room to collect an order from them with the phone still ringing, the store manager asked me to answer the phone. Sorry, I'm with a customer and I'll get to it when I'm done. Apparently that was the wrong answer. I was in a HR meeting the following Monday when we had enough staff to allow people to be off the store floor. Apparently I was being rude and disobedient to my superior. Even though I explained the situation and how I was only following the company guidelines of managing customers, they were not having any of it. A write-up was made and I had to sign it to agree with what was written. Now the write-up lists what incident occurred and what I am planned to do in the future. I smiled internally after reading it through. The write-up mentioned that I was to go and answer the phone when I hear the phone ring no matter what I was doing. I signed it and went on my way. You could probably guess what happened after that. No matter what task I was doing, I would always answer the phone while I was working. If I was helping a customer and the phone rang, I would just excuse myself and answer the phone. I made sure to help out on the phone call as best as I could, despite how long it would take. In the middle of unpacking orders or restocking shelves, as soon as that phone rang, I dropped everything to answer that phone. Eventually, I found myself in another HR meeting regarding my performances. They had received some complaints from customers about how I abandoned them when I was in the middle of helping them. I asked to look at my file and pull out the write-up about answering the phone. This was what you wanted me to sign and I am doing what was instructed that I agreed upon. Are you saying that what I am now doing, which is what I was not doing that caused that write-up, is also cause for a write-up? I was excused from the meeting where the situation was discussed. The manager looked defeated as I was leaving. I was shortly invited back in. There was no new write-up. The previous write-up would be amended to indicate this issue and I can go back to how I was previously working. I worked there for a while longer until I moved on to a similar job with better pay and shorter hours. The manager left not long after that due to similar situations with other staff. The next story is called Mr. Senior Developer. I work as a developer in a company that creates very fast automated systems for moving around money electronically. So obviously we have very strict testing and error checking for any code that goes in a production system. And I'm one of the guys who does this verification. So 3 months ago I found a little bug in a patch that was written by this one other guy who had been working at the company for only a year longer than me. He has the title of Senior Developer while I'm just a developer. It didn't really make any difference though. It was just something you get with a small pay raise once you do 3 years at the company as a developer. Anyway, I noticed this bug, email him and tell him about it so he can fix it and resubmit the patch. But he turns the responsibility on me, tells me his code is correct and that I'm just testing it incorrectly. I try to explain to him, but he doesn't budge. Tired of the pointless arguing, I suggested that we should clear it out with our project manager. At this point he pulls the seniority card and says I should just do as he says because I'm his junior. Now that was just too much for me. This guy has absolutely no authority over me, so cue malicious compliance. I knew that the bug would not manifest itself immediately. There were certain conditions that had to be met for it to show itself in a production environment. And it didn't do anything wrong, it would just crash the system unexpectedly. I asked him one final time in the email thread whether he's sure he wants me to go ahead with the patch. He says yes, so alright. Now we have buggy code running on a production machine which moves $1 million every minute. Nothing happened for 3 months, life was as usual. Then, last week, it finally happened. Our system crashed. Well, we have protection set up for such failures that roll back the binaries automatically. However, the crash did cost the company a few hours of downtime, which means potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars lost. The crash was traced back to the patch that Mr. Senior Developer had written. I had the email trail to absolve myself from any fault. The resolution was quick and needless to say, Mr. Senior Developer no longer works with us now. The third story is called Not Real IT. I got hired as an administrative assistant to the CIO in the IT department of a small bank. At that time, the job description was partly administrative for the CIO. They also wanted me to assist Bob, who oversaw the mainframe and daily processing. It's a small bank and they didn't have the funds for 2 positions, so they just smushed them together. I had already worked there in another department and that's how I got the job. I didn't have a ton of administrative work for the CIO as he didn't like to delegate much. Bob, however, would regularly have me help him by dealing with vendors to fix stuff or to have them do maintenance on the mainframe or related servers. I basically babysat the vendor while they worked on my computer, accessing applications and servers, answering any questions and gaining them access to the things they needed. Also making sure they didn't accidentally fudge anything up. I was basically doing IT stuff and not getting paid as IT. I should also mention that I was the only girl in the department and definitely got paid less than the IT guys. They regularly joked about how I wasn't real IT because I was technically an administrative assistant according to my job title. I did this for about 5 years. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm not a dummy and picked this stuff up easy. Which is probably why Bob had me help him so much. Bob also liked to take naps in his office, so that may be part of the reason too. One day, our applications guy came up to my desk which sat outside the CIO and Bob's office. He asked if I would babysit a vendor on one of his servers because he had to leave unexpectedly. I told him of course. While I was getting the specifics from him, the CIO comes running out of his office to say no, he didn't want me babysitting vendors. He said I didn't have the right IT training or qualifications to deal with a vendor alone on our servers. Applications guy and Bob, both knowing that I literally did this all the time, did not say a peep in my defense. They did not tell the CIO I'm qualified as I've been trained and have been doing this for 5 years. Bob just said he would take care of it. This really set me off. I went home and started looking for a new job the same day. And I started my malicious compliance. I told myself I would never work with a vendor again, no matter what. And wouldn't you know it, one of our main applications connected to our mainframe went down a few days later. All the IT managers, including Bob and applications guy, were at an offsite managers meeting in the next town over. No one else in the department knew anything about this application or how to fix it. I of course could have called the vendor myself, but I'm not qualified. The help desk queue was filling up with people calling in to say they couldn't work because this application was down. I informed the help desk manager he needed to call Bob and have him leave his meeting so he could fix the problem. When Bob finally got back to his office, I said, "Sorry, wish I was qualified enough to help," and went to lunch. Bob never asked me to do anything with a vendor again and I left the department a few months later. I got a job not in IT that paid more and my boss respects me. The last story is called Malicious Compliance Party. This happened in the mid-90s when I was working for a software company. Said software company was a major provider of logistic management software for the trucking and shipping industry at the time. They were founded by 2 computer science college students in the 60s who were able to build the company into a multi-million-dollar company. Both gentlemen were wonderful to work with and were still there when I started working for the company. One took the sales side and managed the sales and marketing efforts. The other managed the software development teams. Together, they had created a juggernaut of a software company. The gentleman who managed the software development team's official title was CEO, retired after putting in 25 years. We gave him a heartfelt send-off, with many of us being in tears at his departure. That's how much we loved him. They hired a new CEO who didn't come from a software development background. Huge red flag, he didn't understand the software development cycle. The new CEO also regularly treated people poorly. He set unreasonable deadlines without consultation with the people who actually did the work to see if set deadlines was even attainable. That's not how you motivate software developers who have high levels of skill and experience. All the developers needed to do is reach out to a headhunter and say, "I have X years of experience with this company in order to get a better job with more money." Suffice it to say, I wasn't impressed. After experiencing the setting unreasonable deadlines issue in my project, I was looking for ways to pay back. It resulted in me calling our customers behind his back in order to negotiate a reasonable deadline, something I was successful in doing that he never found out about. The new CEO started talking about how insecure our facility was and how we were in need of a new entrance security system in order to reduce the risk of corporate espionage. We all figured he meant a Mac keycard with a gate, something state-of-the-art for entrance security. But no, he was cheap. His idea of state-of-the-art security was giving us name badges, that's it. Not even a photo ID, just a badge with our names on it. We were to wear them so that they were visible. He sent out an email stating that if we saw anyone throughout our campus without a name badge after a specific date, we were to treat them like they were a suspicious person. When we found someone without a name badge, we were to immediately escort them to the front desk. The new CEO and high-level management had their offices in the front desk area. Trouble is, the entire rollout of their name badges was delayed due to production issues. Said deadline date came and went, and about a third of our employees didn't have a name badge yet. The new CEO had also not rescinded his original email order regarding taking suspicious persons without a name badge to the front desk. Cue malicious compliance. After the deadline, I was walking to the snack area and met one of the software development managers without a name badge. I initially made the joke, "Hey Dave, you look like a suspicious person." We both laughed a bit. He commented on how stupid the whole name badge thing was and started walking back to his area of the campus. I was suddenly struck by an idea. I went back to him and said, "Hey Dave, you really are a suspicious person. I need to take you to the front office." At first he barked. "No really, I don't have time for this, I need to go back to work." I whispered, "Hey Dave, listen to me for a sec. Envision this, I take you to the front desk. You go into the lounge there. Take a break on company time. Heaven only knows how long you'll be there before someone notices that you're gone. Could be hours. Getting paid for doing nothing on company time." Dave's face lit up like a Christmas tree. "You're right," he replied. "I guess I am a suspicious person. You'd better escort me to the front office." So he reached out his arm to me, and arm in arm we both walked to the front office, where I left Dave to take a well-deserved extended break on company time. Dave was the perfect first person for me to do this with, because he was one of the software development managers. As I came across others without name badges insisting that I needed to escort them to the front office, I told them, "This is a gag against the CEO, Dave's in on it. He's already there in the lounge." As soon as others heard that Dave was in on the gag, they willingly complied and followed me to the front desk. I didn't stop until I had hunted down about 50 co-workers and taken them to the front desk. We had a staff of around 250 employees. By the time I had dropped off my last person, it was quite a party atmosphere in the front desk area. People laughing, joking, drinking soft drinks and eating snacks. It was getting really loud. I looked at this jolly scene and thought, my work here is done, and went back to my desk. 1 hour goes by. Finally, the new CEO emerges from his office after hearing nearly 2 hours of this cacophony, angrily asking, "What on earth are all of you doing here? Why aren't you working?" They all replied, "We were suspicious persons because we didn't have our name badges, so she brought us here." The new CEO apparently got flustered and said, "Well, go back to work." And the crowd disperses. Sitting at my desk, I get a phone call from him. "Come to my office, right now." Off I went to his office, taking a printed copy of his original email directive regarding people without name badges with me. I sat down in front of his desk, looking extremely irritated. He asked, "What do you think you are doing?" I calmly replied, "I'm following your orders, sir," and handed him the email of his original name badge directives. In reading his own email, he immediately realized he couldn't do anything against me. He got even more flustered and sputtered, "Well, stop following my orders." I again calmly replied, "Sir, may I remind you that you ordered me to not follow your orders at a time that is most convenient for me to do so?" His face looked like he was in a brain lock and that he didn't know how to respond. "Well, no, go back to work." I experienced no repercussions from that incident. There were other orchestrated incidents that followed, but they were behind the scenes practical jokes, not malicious compliance. I left a year later for greener work pastures. About 6 months after I left, the new CEO was forced to retire under threat of dismissal. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, comment and subscribe. Have a great day. Bye bye.